Well, I hate to say it, folks, but it looks like guitar YouTube is dying a slow death. The numbers are very clear, the reasons are damning, and unfortunately, it looks like the future isn't very bright. Let's get right into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ministry of Guitar. I'm Utkarsh coming to you from Singapore. Now, I've been talking for a while about how there's something fundamentally different about the YouTube algorithm, about YouTube in general, the nature of YouTube these days, and how the same content doesn't get the same kind of views anymore. And I wanted to put this to a test, so I decided to look at some of my not necessarily favorite, but some of the guitar YouTube channels that I am very familiar with, and I want to check out how they're doing and when their most popular video was. So I'm going to start off with which is one of my favorite channels or favorite musicians, which is Rabia Masad. And on YouTube you can check latest video and you can check popular video. And here I wanted to see whether there was a single video in the top 10 videos or top 10 most popular videos on the channel that was from the last year, in the last 12 months, because my entire point has been something has fundamentally changed in the last 12 months, maybe 9 months to be more accurate. In the case of Rabia Masad, top videos 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, to be fair, a very mature channel, but nonetheless, 9 years ago, 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 5 years, 5 years. So nothing recent. Mary Spender, top videos 5 years, 3 years, 5 years, 5 years, 6 years, 2 years. This is relatively recent, but still not in the last year, before the change that I'm mentioning. 4 years, 5 years. Agufish, I really like. I used to watch this channel a lot. I still watch it a lot. Though he doesn't post as much, which will get me into a future point. 7 years, 6 years, 8 years, 7 years, 7, 5, 2 years. Okay, so 2 years has some videos, but in general, everything that was popular, big videos, all music is when also 5 years, 5 years, 7 years, 4 years, 8 years, all from a while back. Stay Metal Ray, or now it is actual name, 5 years, 7 years. Okay, we have one video, one thing that's breaking the rule, which is from a year ago, but I bet that's a little older than a year. No, so and then finally Philip McKnight, a very mature channel. Everything is from 9 years, 8 years, 8 years. Now, this is not very scientific, and not that I'm going to say that the numbers or the analysis I'm giving you is the most scientific out there, because I do not have access to all the views, all the YouTube studios of all the musicians or all the YouTubers. But what I did is I wanted to take 3 different channels of 3 different sizes, and I wanted to compare the average view count that they got in the last year versus the year before that. So my entire point here is, in the last year, something has changed. People are getting a lot lesser views. So I decided to take 3 of them. Why did I choose these 3? Because slightly different sizes. I chose Music is Win, Mary Spender, Agufish. Music is Win has 1.8 million subscribers. Mary Spender has 765,000. Agufish has 228,000. So these are mature channels, different sizes. I actually sat and did it manually. Look at this. I actually went and filled in view count video by video. That's why I just chose 3, because it's a lot of time and effort. In any case, this is what I found out, and it's written right here for you to see. For Music is Win, the average views his videos got last year, average video got 128,000 views. So there's a big range there. If you look at over here, some videos did really well, like 100K, 349. Some videos didn't do so well, like 33K or whatever, 37K, right? So, but the average is 128,000 views. The average views for a video in the previous period, which is the year before that, before last year. So past 12 months is this particular period, and the 12 months before that is this period, 194. Which means his videos in the last 1 year are only getting 66% of the views that they used to get at an average. That's not very high. That's quite low. It's quite a decline. If a business declined by 33%, it would be in big trouble. So, yeah, that's not very good news. Mary Spender, similar, 765,000 views, 103,000 views at an average, if you look at the past 12 months. And if you look at the 12 months before that, it's 134,000 views. So 103 by 134, she's getting 77%. Agufish, average 39,000, and before that 46,000, 85. I didn't plan it to be 6, 7, 8. It just kind of turned out that way. But the point is, and you can probably do this for most channels, I haven't had the time, honestly, and this is quite an exercise. And this is ultimately, the real views. These are average views per video. The absolute total number of views in the channel, only the creator themselves will know. So again, must reiterate, this is not a perfect analysis, but the trend is very clear. Even when you browse people's view counts just manually, you will notice this no matter which channel you go to, that they no longer get the number of views that they used to. And what you're seeing is a very steady decline in the amount of viewership per video, definitely for guitar YouTube channels, but perhaps viewership in general on the whole guitar hobby on YouTube. Now, what's going on? What are the reasons for this? And what is the implication of this? First, let's get into the reasons. And to understand these reasons, we need to go a little bit beyond the world of guitar. We need to understand what is changing with YouTube, hence what is changing with consumers, or rather viewers in this case, and hence what is changing in the actual environment, which is the YouTube algorithm. What is changing with YouTube? Now, YouTube is a company that has been through a journey, as you can imagine. Once it was acquired by Google, it enjoyed immense growth. And a big component of the reason that Alphabet, Google and YouTube's parent company, is such a big company these days is, where do you think the valuation for Alphabet and Google comes from and YouTube comes from? It basically comes from the advertising sales that they make to advertisers. Because what has happened in the last 10 to 20 years is, say in 2005, 20 years ago, if you were an advertiser, you used to advertise on a TV channel, used to advertise on a newspaper, used to advertise in a magazine. Today, you primarily advertise on YouTube. You may do a little bit of Instagram here and there. You may pay some influencers. But if you're actually putting ads out there, commercials for people to see, YouTube is the main way to do it. That's where the money came from. And as you can imagine, when there's such a seismic shift in the industry, that the whole industry, that imagine all the television channels all over the world, all the newspapers all over the world, if all of that revenue suddenly shifts mostly to one company, imagine the kind of growth that company sees, the kind of growth expectation that company sets. And what has happened recently is YouTube, or Google itself, has become a mature company. So at one particular point in time, while they were enjoying a significant amount of user growth, a significant amount of revenue growth due to all the advertising revenue, that thing has slowed down. They're no longer acquiring as many new users as they're getting. They're no longer acquiring as many new advertising dollars, because all advertising dollars that had to shift to YouTube have already shifted. Right? So this is the macro context in which all of this is happening. The other thing that is going on is that, of course, YouTube has competition. If previously everybody used to watch long form on the internet, short form on the internet, such as TikTok, has become really big. Not to say that short form didn't exist earlier, but it's very big now. TikTok is massive. In terms of users, I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm sure it's giving YouTube a run for its money. So, all in all, YouTube is evolving the way it works. Second thing that's going on is users, people like you and me, viewers of YouTube, users of TikTok, or whatever else it might be, we have changed as well. Because if previously all of this was novel to us, the chance to hear the guitars on the internet, comparison between a Gibson Explorer and a PRS, or comparison between so on and so forth, right? All the gear stuff that you can imagine. If all of that was novel to us 5 to 7 to 8 years ago when Andertons was doing its thing, it's no longer novel to us. So even YouTube's content relevance, depending on different platforms, certain platforms has done well for YouTube. Podcasting has become really big. A lot of people watch their podcasts on YouTube, but certain other platforms are not doing as well because people are used to it already. In net, what's going on is YouTube is possibly having some sort of a crunch where they're no longer seeing the growth that they used to. They could just sit back and assume significant growth, watch the users come in, watch the advertising dollars come in. It's no longer happening. So they have made some changes as well. One of the changes that is very clear, and I've talked about this before on my other videos, is that clearly they're diversifying from only getting money from advertisers to getting money from creators. Now, creators are supposed to get paid by YouTube. So what am I talking about, right? Because creators, they get a share of the advertising dollars. Well, one thing that Facebook did 10, 20 years, not 20, it's not been that long, but 10 years ago that many people may not have noticed is, there was a time when you posted something on Facebook, it used to reach everybody on your friend list. If you were a brand and you had 100,000 followers, you posted something, all 100,000 followers saw it. Then Facebook realized that, hey, we have all of these people. Why are we giving this free reach? Reach is a very important thing, by the way, in the advertising world. So, just the ability to reach someone with your message is a very powerful thing, because advertisers can use it to sell stuff. So Facebook was like, why am I giving all this free reach to all of these people who have followers? If you need to get reach on my platform, you need to pay for it. That was the origin of Facebook ads, right? So what is happening on YouTube is that beyond the advertising that advertisers do, what is happening is now for YouTubers to reach all of their subscribers, they won't reach automatically. You will reach a certain number. Say, for example, Music is Win. He has 1.18 million subscribers. He only reaches an average of 128,000 per video, right? Say some subscribers are disinterested, whatever, but the ratio will not be like this is less than 1:10, right? Even 180,000 would be 10%. This is lesser than that. This is like 6% of the people are listening. So are getting to see his video. So what has happened on YouTube is that even YouTubers with big followings are not going to automatically reach their subscribers. So because YouTube is now also making money from creators, YouTubers, brands who are making videos on YouTube, all sorts of video makers who want to reach more people, they are paying for it. So suddenly your content, the organic views of your content are competing with the paid views of your content. So, and you may be seeing all of these paid videos on your feed without even knowing about it. Because it'll just be something that you notice on your feed, you watch it, so on and so forth. The experience will be different from you if you're a YouTube premium viewer. But nonetheless, most people are not YouTube premium viewers. So most people, they do see advertising on YouTube already. So it's pretty much part and parcel of the process. You don't even notice it. So that's one thing that's going on. If previously as a YouTuber, you had all the reach of all the followers you built up, now you have very limited reach compared to the total number of followers, and you have to pay for it. So that's one thing that's going on. This is the general YouTube issue. It's not only restricted to guitar, but I think there's something deeper going on within the guitar community. I think the years 2015 to around 2020-21 were sort of a golden era in terms of guitar gear, because it was an era of discovery. Because previously you only had a few guitar magazines here and there, information was very limited, and with the explosion of YouTube, with the explosion of channels like such as Rob Chapman, Anderton, so on and so forth, suddenly there was so much information. I recently made a video on the guitar tones. What are the 6 basic guitar tones? I had no clue about these guitar tones. I had been playing guitar for 10 years in 2015. I only discovered all of this about after YouTube. So there was a huge explosion of knowledge even amongst average guitar players over the last 10 years. And post 2020, there was even more, because a lot of new players came in with the whole pandemic guitar buying boom. But what has happened now is there's some level of saturation that has been reached. There's only so many times you can find out about the perfect Strat, the perfect Tele, the great overdrive pedal, so on and so forth. So in general, there is a little bit of perhaps gear paralysis or boredom or overload, and there's a little bit of content about gear overload. Right? A guitar, or making music with a guitar, is a relatively simple process. Right? It's not something that's been reinvented till the ends of the earth. If you imagine a guitar from 1952, the Telecaster, and a guitar from today, they're different, but they're not that different. In fact, you can almost get the exact same guitar today. But if you imagine a car from 1952, some Cadillac or some Ford from 1952 versus a car of today, they're dramatically different. Right? So what I'm saying is, this entire exploring different angles of the guitar can only be done so much. So there's a little bit of fatigue that's going on. And there's, and what the whole YouTube algorithm, how they kind of really designed it is that content creators had to keep making more and more content. If you don't make a new video every 2 days, you get deprioritized. So there, just kind of by design, there's been an overload of content. So there's constantly new content coming out. It's competing with the content that has already been created. It's all rather messy. And which brings me to, what is the future of all of this? I see 3 things happening in the future. The one big thing that I see happening is that the number of content creators who create content regularly will go down, because it is no longer going to be lucrative, or forget lucrative, it's no longer going to be worth the time. I've talked about this, right? And you can already see it. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't know Agufish personally, Hunter, but I'm just seeing that his frequency is a lot less. Probably he's doing other stuff, maybe, or maybe he's busy with something else. I have no idea, but he's not the only one. I've seen this across many different channels, where the frequency will go down, because ultimately, if it's not lucrative for you, if you spend the time and effort to make a video, edit a video, put it all together, and you don't even get a certain amount of money for your effort, why will people do it? People have other things to do. In any case, people, not everybody is privileged enough to have all the free time in the world. People need to work to make a living. So that's one. There's going to be an apocalypse in terms of creators across genres, not only guitar, but I do see it a little bit more in the guitar sets. The second thing that we're going to see is we're going to see a little bit of a hybridization or a change in business model for creators. Now, I want to point your attention towards an analogy about newspapers, because what happened in the early 2000s and the 2010s is that traditional newspapers like the New York Times or even the Economist, was not really a daily newspaper, they were struggling because what was happening is that people used to buy magazines. Now the internet was kind of free to all, to everybody, and nobody was willing to pay. Right? Nobody was willing to subscribe to the New York Times on the internet. Nobody was willing to pay for something on the internet when you could just get it free. The entire free culture that the internet began with is quite legendary. Think of Napster. Think of so many other things. But over time, people have learned, consumers have evolved, businesses have learned. Now the New York Times and the Economist make a lot of money from direct subscribers. I suspect that a lot of content creators who are on a advertising only model, where the money that they make is through advertising, either through YouTube's ad revenue or through sponsors that they get on the videos, are going to start moving towards a hybrid model of advertisers plus direct to viewer, direct to consumer, direct to customer payment, which is kind of what's happening on Substack. Plugging my own Substack here, because again, I've had this whole issue with being completely advertising led, which is ironic given my background in advertising and marketing. But I recognize the danger of an economy that's driven totally by grabbing people's attention to sell them product. I recognize the danger of that. There is a very good reason for advertising and marketing. It helps inform people about products so that they can make the right choice. But when it becomes all about grabbing people's attention, right, and which is a real symptom on short form video, it's also a symptom on YouTube with all the thumbnails, with all the expressions that YouTubers make. When that is the outcome of an advertising-led economy, I have a little bit of an issue with it. And hence, what I expect is you start seeing a lot more direct, a hybrid model of advertising plus direct to creator compensation system. So I expect that. What is the third thing that I see happening? The third thing that I see happening is it's going to take a bit of time, but ultimately guitar needs to develop a new audience. I am very hopeful about this because right now the guitar audience, if you think about it, people like me are not the norm, right? It is still pretty much a Western world led, though of course there are plenty of people in the East, in the quote unquote global South, who love guitar, who play guitar, but the numbers and quote unquote the money comes from the Western world when it comes to the guitar world. I think guitar needs to expand its audience, and I can bet there are millions of people, because guitar is such a universal instrument. In its most basic form, it has found its way all over the world. My hope is that there is a future wave of new users, new guitarists, new people discovering things for the first time. Maybe they won't be doing it all in English. Maybe they will not be doing it all in the way that you expect it. But my hope is that there is a new audience waiting that will help give guitar YouTube and this entire guitar hobby a second shot, like almost like a second wave when you're running a marathon, if you can relate to that. But when you get a second wind is what I was looking for. I'm hoping that will be true. All right, folks, let me know what you think. Are you noticing this as well? Are you noticing the sudden death, or not sudden, but slow death rather, the slow death of guitar YouTube? Let me know what you think as always, and I'll see you next time.